Budget Cup Red Bull and Aston Martin. Red Bull and Aston Martin have reportedly agreed to sign an accepted breach agreement with the FIA for breaking the 2021 budget cap. Following the Japanese Grand Prix, both teams were revealed to have violated the cap, with Red Bull's violation being a small overspend and Aston Martin's violation being a procedural. Since then, the paddock has been inundated in ideas regarding the appropriate sanctions, ranging from a fine to the cancellation of world championships. Both teams engaged in ABA talks with the FIA as required by the rules, and it is now widely believed that the two sides have reached an agreement. The race reports that Red Bull will likely receive a fine and less aerodynamic testing than originally planned, which was the level of punishment the FIA had in mind. According to motorsport.com, Aston Martin will just be fined money, much like Williams was when they submitted their paperwork after the deadline earlier this year. Both teams were able to escape more serious punishments, like point reductions or budget cuts in the future by agreeing to an ABA, which functions as a sort of plea bargain. On Friday at 11:30 a.m. local time, Red Bull will hold a press conference before to the opening practice session of the Mexican Grand Prix. Different interpretations of the rules are said to have led to the violations on both sides. A UK tax issue is supposedly at play for both teams, and Red Bull's breach, which cost them roughly $1.8 million, covered meals at their plant and their heritage department. The governing body of motor racing officially released its findings on Monday, ending months of strong rumor that two squads have been found to have spent more than the about $145 million limit in 2021. It stated in a statement that all teams with the exception of Red Bull Racing, Aston Martin Racing, and Williams had received their compliance certificates. The Williams breach referred to the team's tardy filed submission from the previous year, for which it was penalized. Similar to Williams, Aston Martin was found to be in procedural violation of the rules, while Red Bull was found to have both a procedural and small expenditure violation. Red Bull has expressed confidence that the financial statement it filed in March was safely under the limit, but the FIA believes that Red Bull exceeded the budget cap. Red Bull team manager Christian Horner asserted during the most recent Singapore Grand Prix that he was confident his crew had adhered to the regulations in full. "I'm absolutely confident in our submission," he said. "It's been through a process. It went in March in terms of being signed off fully by our auditors, who are obviously one of the big three, and we believe that we are comfortably within the cap." The rules of Formula One include a variety of sanctions for teams who violate the expense cap: a public censure, a reduction in constructors or drivers' championship points, an absence from events, restrictions on aero testing, or a fine are all possible sanctions for a small infraction, which is defined as an overspend of less than 5%. How the FIA will respond to the rule violations by Aston Martin and Red Bull was not made clear. The examination reveals that there was no overspending in the instance of Aston Martin, and the team is thought to be eager to emphasize that no competitive advantage was obtained. It is also understood that recent rumors that the company did go over the budget are detrimental. The procedural error was caused by varying interpretations of a complicated regulatory framework and relates to a variety of administrative accounting standards. Red Bull's excessive spending will draw more attention to how the FIA handles the situation, and some sources say it will serve as a test case for the effectiveness of the cost cap. Since the cost cap laws are still relatively new, and everyone is still trying to understand them, if the FIA takes a harsh stance against the Milton Keynes-based team, but if the regulating body is too lenient, it can give competing clubs the impression that they are no longer need to adhere to the spending restrictions. Mattia Binotto, the team principal for Ferrari, said on Sunday in Japan that he thought it was preferable for the FIA to be too harsh than to try to ignore the issue. "Since our cars today in Japan were competing for the best place," he continued, "what's crucial for us is whatever will be the breach, if any breach, the penalty has to be hefty." The case would have been brought before the cost cap adjudication panel, and the whole spectrum of sanctions would have been once again on the table if Red Bull had refused the FIA's requirements. The scandal may have continued to be dragged out after that all the way to the International Court of Appeals. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you'd never miss any amazing video from us.